challenging spirit within Honda. It gives us the courage to go faster and the thinking to make it real. Whether it looks like a truck, a sedan, or an SUV, inside is the heart of a race car.
My name is Jason Alder, and I'm the driver of the number 77 Ligier JS F3 car. Being a race car driver is cool and all, but it's really nothing when you're not utilizing it for a good cause, like spreading the word for type 1 and type 2 diabetes. It does a lot for me personally, and it does a lot for the FDA.
Some of the symptoms of type 1 diabetes are sudden weight loss, vision changes, frequent urination. So remember to check, don't guess, it may not be the flu, and that education is knowledge, and knowledge is the power to help save lives. Go to dfda.info to check out Rocco's story. Thank you and have a great day.
Bad. I'm back. Hello. This is John, your friendly announcer. All I have to do is push the right button and I'll be on the PA. That's my bad. I apologize. My name's John Fippin. I'm the spokesman for the series, and we're just about ready to kick off round 14 of the Formula Regional Americas Championship for 2022. I'm set here with Noah Ping, who is going to be our expert commentator for this race. Noah, welcome to the commentary booth.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. It's awesome to be up here. This is my first time up here, so it's very cool.
Awesome. Okay, well, hopefully we'll have an entertaining race for you to watch. I was about to say that our first race of the weekend, which was earlier today, was a bit of a surprise, as for the first time this season, our points leader, Raul Hyman, not only was not on the podium, he didn't score points. Raul had a very eventful race, ending up in the barrier at the end of the day, and unable to score points for the first time this season. That allowed Dylan Tavella, who finished third unofficially. Again, there's still some post-race discussions going on in the stewarding room, but Dylan Tavella, who finished third in that race, will have the opportunity to close the points gap down a little bit. It's now 36 points unofficially. It started as the weekend began with 51 points between Raul Hyman, our points leader for DJ Speed Motorsport, and Dylan Tavella for Crosslink Kiwi. Jason Alder took the win in the race this morning, and that has closed his deficit to Dylan Tavella down to 69 points. And then in fourth spot, we've got Ryan Yardley in the number 78. Ryan was my co-commentator for the F4 race that concluded just a couple hours ago, and he's within 16 points of Jason Alder. So the battle's getting a little closer at the beginning, but take nothing away from it. Raul Hyman has still been the dominant force in this championship so far this season. He has 7 wins, 5 other podium finishes, and has finished on the podium in every race but one. So he is certainly, I would say, it's his championship to lose, for want of a better term. Let's introduce the 11 starters, as they are already out on the track, following behind the Honda Civic Type R pace car. Starting alone in row number 6 is the number 24 of Kevin Jansen out of Deerfield Beach, Florida. Kevin drives for the Crosslink Kiwi Motorsports team. Up into row 5 on the outside is car number 10, Rodrigo Gutierrez out of Santa Cruz, Bolivia. And he's a driver for Velocity Racing Development. Alongside him is the driver making his debut this weekend in Formula Regional Americas competition. That's Oliver Westling. He's raced with us with the Jensen team out of Emerald Hills, California in the F4 Championship. But this weekend and our final race weekend coming up at Circuit of the Americas at the beginning of November, Oliver will be getting his time in the FR car and hopefully mounting a full season campaign in 2023. In row 4 on the outside, the single car team of Hayden Bowlesby in the number 3 for the IGY6 racing team. Hayden's team formed by his father and is an all-veteran owned and operated race team, and we're glad to have them in our championship. He makes his his home in Folsom, Louisiana. Next to him in that fourth row, also a commentator with me this weekend, the 91 of Cooper Becklin out of West Lynn, Oregon. A high jumper is Cooper, as he'll be starting college this fall. He drives for the Crosslink Kiwi Motorsports team. Up into row number 3 on the outside, car number 29, Nick Pershing out of Morgan Hill, California, near San Francisco. He is one of the TJ Speed Motorsports drivers. Next to him, the number 78 of Ryan Yardley out of Christchurch, New Zealand. Ryan, also a commentator with us in the booth. He drives for Crosslink Kiwi Motorsport. In row number 4, Jason Alder, the winner of the race earlier today in the 77, out of Cooksville, Maryland, driving for TJ Speed Motorsport. Next to him, the man who is second in the points, Dylan Tavella, in the number 14 out of Massapequa Park, New York, for Crosslink Kiwi Motorsport. On the front row, car number 25, Matt Clark, a driver had a great run. He led the race earlier today for a distance before making a mistake. He's out of Campbellville, Canada, and he drives for Future Star Racing. And your pole sitter and the points leader, 7-time winner on the season, number 27, Raoul Hyman, the South African, currently living in London, and he drives for TJ Speed. So he'll start on the pole on the strength of the fast race lap turned in race number 1, despite his problems ending up in the barrier at the end of the day. So Noah, this could be an interesting race. There's a little payback coming for Raoul Hyman, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's going to be on the charge for sure. It's going to be interesting what he can do out front. We'll see if he gets a good start and just checks out like he's done in the past. But I think the field's been really close this weekend from what I can see. So it'll definitely be an interesting race for race 2 of these FR cars.
One of the things that we've noticed, I was here commentating last weekend as well, this is a track that punishes you for mistakes. If you drop a wheel off, you're going for a ride. And so these drivers are, finding that if you just overextend just a little bit, you could find yourself in trouble. So it's been an eventful weekend so far.
Yeah, definitely, and that's kind of this track's characteristics is the pavement's actually a bit higher than you think it is in the grass. So if you do drop a wheel, you actually almost bottom out, so it makes it really, really difficult, which
exactly
makes it tricky and exciting at the same time.
Exactly. Well, that's why the drivers love it. It's a high-speed racetrack. It demands perfection. It demands that you hit your marks every turn, every lap, and if you don't make any mistakes, it's pretty rewarding. So looking forward to this one. And we'll have a Formula One style standing start as we do with each of our races. Weren't able to do that earlier on because of a time crunch. But the front row coming into position now, Raoul Hyman and Matt Clark rolling into position on row 1 as the rest of the field now rolling into their start boxes. They have a crew member on the radio to each of the drivers, talking them forward so as they don't get over the line, because that would be judged as a penalty. As the last 2 rows just now rolling into position. The start light sequence will begin once the field is set. The 2 green lights on the start gantry will be illuminated. And that will indicate to the drivers that the grid is ready. And then there are 5 red lights. You can see them now on your screen. They'll come on in sequence. We've got 2, 3, 4, and we are away. And Raoul Hyman gets a jump, but Matt Clark is wasting no time staying right with our points leader. Mac unable to race with us at our last round at New Jersey Motorsports Park because of a schedule conflict, and he is flexing his muscles here, trying to go around the outside, but Hyman with a little bit of a brake lockup, able to hang on to that first position. There's some good battling a little deeper in the pack as well as they head toward NASCAR, turn number 3. Raoul Hyman still with the lead. Matt Clark right on his gearbox as they exit 3 and into the left hook, turn number 4. Hyman's car getting a little squirrely. It's warmer than it was earlier when we raced in the morning, so these tires won't take quite as long to get up to temperature, and that's really been a factor here. You can see Dylan Tavella slotted there into the 3rd spot. If he hopes to narrow the points gap even further, he needs to get in front of Raoul Hyman and finish there. But that's going to be a tall order, as Hyman certainly will be hopefully motivated to keep that car out in front. Just behind Tavella is this morning's winner, Jason Alder, the number 77, a teammate to Raoul Hyman. And right behind him, Nick Pershing, the 3rd of the TJ Speed drivers. As the field's snaking down this long, 4,000-foot long back straightaway, drafting will definitely come into play here as the passing maneuver we so often see at the end of the straightaway is if you can get close enough, the following driver can pop out, just as Dylan Tavella is trying to do on Matt Clark, but then thought better of it here. Probably going to wait till those tires get just a little bit warmer. But so far, so good, as everybody line astern coming down the roller coaster and into the Big Machine Vodka Spiked Coolers Hog Pen, turn number 17. And down the front straight they come, completing race lap number 1. Hyman, your leader. Matt Clark in second spot across the line. Then Tavella, Alder, and Pershing as your top 5. Ryan Yardley in 6th. Cooper Becklin, Hayden Bowlesby, Rodrigo Gutierrez, Oliver Westling, and Kevin Jansen all make it across the line to complete lap number 1. Noah, I don't know if you've had any time in this FR car, but I understand because it's got so much extra aero, it's a little tougher to follow closely as you're able to do in the F4 car.
Yeah, definitely, and it's a pretty heavy car in and of itself, which even makes it more challenging when you do lose all the air off the front and the floor as well, because the floor makes a good bit of downforce. So
sure,
when you get in that dirty air, it definitely affects your car pretty well.
So you have to be sort of selective at your passing opportunities because just tucking right on the gearbox of the car in front is difficult to do, especially on a track with as much change of direction, high-speed change of direction as this track has. As we get a good shot of Nick Pershing right behind his teammate, Jason Alder, in the battle for 4th position. But Raul Hyman may be stretching his lead just a little bit. It was about half a second at the end of lap number 1. The closest battle seems to be the one for second right now. Matt Clark in the white and red liveried machine, the number 25. And Dylan Tavella, the gentleman who is second in the points for Crosslink Kiwi, now only 36 points behind our race leader and points leader coming into this penultimate weekend of racing for the series. We'll have one more 3-race weekend coming up at Circuit of the Americas in early November. Good shot of the number 91 car of Cooper Becklin, currently running in 7th spot. As we are completing race lap number 2, and touch wood, we've stayed green all the way for the first time this weekend. We've got a green-to-green race as it stands right now. There's Dylan Tavella in the number 14 car. The New Yorker staying in position there. And uncharacteristically, usually Raul Hyman is one of these drivers who tries to get a bit of a jump early and put a gap on the rest of the field, and he's not been able to do that. I think maybe he's a little bit more cautious than he would normally be because of the problems he had in the first race.
Yeah, or I think the draft might be a bit big here, even in these cars, so it might be keeping Mac in the car, and also he might be saving tires in this. You know, these races are a bit longer than the F4, so it is a bit important to keep tires underneath you, especially for the end of the race where it's so important.
Sure, exactly. The teams each have 2 full sets of Hankook slicks to use over the course of the weekend, starting in qualifying. So basically 4 on-track sessions to use those 2 sets of tires, and the team can choose to allocate them however they wish. But obviously, tire management, I think, for the FR cars is even a little more important than it is for the F4 cars, just because there's so much more horsepower available. Spinning up the rears is something you have to avoid.
Definitely. And you're going a bit faster in the brake zone, so that will definitely wear out your tires too, so you have to make sure not to lock up, especially in this car because it is so heavy that when you do lock up, it tends to be pretty big, which is never fun to drive a car that's flat spotted.
Exactly. You know, and the question is often asked, well, why is the car so heavy? Well, it's built to the FIA safety requirements, which are very stringent as far as crash structure worthiness, both front and rear crash structures, side impact crash structures, and that adds weight. There's just no other way around it. So these cars not quite as nimble as some of the other Formula cars, where the safety of the driver isn't as high a paramount. It's more to keep the car as light as possible. So these drivers designed to a safety standard that's maybe a step above some other open wheel racing series, and that's why this car carries a little more weight, but it's got the horsepower to make up for it. The F4 car makes just under 160 horsepower. This car, with the same engine but the turbocharger is involved, makes just north of 300 horsepower. So there's a lot more right foot, but still the mass of the car is going to make a difference, because you've got to accelerate that weight, you got to turn that weight, you got to stop that weight, and that makes it tougher to go fast at everything you have to do in a race car to go quickly.
Exactly. So.
Yeah. I heard what sounded like a spin, but at the moment it looks like everybody is where they belong as they're coming through South Bend. That's turn number 10 as we follow the 10 car of Rodrigo Gutierrez, the Bolivian, for Velocity Racing Development, a team that you know well, Noah.
Yeah, my teammate.
Yep.
So he's a great guy too, him and his family. From Bolivia, so they're lovely, and he's a pretty good driver himself as well. So
no doubt,
it's cool to see there's a ladder system at VRD too.
Yeah, exactly. He's got 8 points paying finishes already this season. Still looking for his first podium, but it'll come, no question about it. Rodrigo's a good lad. As there's the number 3 car of Hayden Bowlesby in the IGY6 machine. IGY stands for I Got Your 6, and again, as we said, an all-veteran owned and operated team. So glad to have them in our paddock. Hayden has competed with us in the F4 series for 3 years, and it's great to have him taking the step up into the FR series here this season with his dad's team. Hayden currently circulating in 8th spot. He's up in front of Rodrigo by just about 3 seconds, so a good run for the Louisiana native. As the field pretty much settled in here, Raul Hyman setting fast lap of the race on that last circuit, a 1:45.959. And that's getting within shouting distance of the race lap record set here in 2019 by Matthias Soler Opel. As Matthias set a 1:44 flat, so we're within about 2 seconds of that pace. Those were under perhaps more ideal conditions, and frankly, we were on a different tire combination back in that era. But you can see the climbing S's as the cars weaving their way down toward the south end of the racetrack at the Franklin Road turn 11, where we see the number 2 of Oliver Westling. Remember, Oliver on debut this weekend in this car. He has experience in the F4 car for Jensen, and now taking the step up into the FR machine this weekend. Oliver currently in 10th spot. As the 24 car of Kevin Jansen rounding out the 11 car field. We always choose on Kevin just a little bit. He jokes on himself that he's older than the parents of most of our drivers. So, but it's great to have Kevin in. He's an amateur hockey player and a pretty good one, I'm told. And I understand you've got a little hockey experience as well, Noah.
Yeah, definitely. So before I started racing in 2020, I did play competitive hockey. I was in juniors, so it's about a semi-professional hockey. It's in between what would be considered youth hockey and college hockey, where you go and play for 3 years. So I was in the middle of that, and when COVID hit, I was able to get out on the racetrack and fell in love with racing, and history's kind of writing itself. So love every minute I get in the car too. Like nothing beats racing, right?
NHL season's about to kick off. Do you miss strapping on the pads and getting in goal?
Sometimes. I got a little couple sessions this summer with my buddies before they went off to college, but not as good as I used to be, especially because I was a goalie, so lost a lot of flexibility over the summer in racing. But it was good to get out there with my friends and just have a good time.
That's what it's all about. As we watch the battle for second, third, and fourth, Matt Clark, Dylan Tavella, and Jason Alder running in close formation. And as we suspected, Raul Hyman has turned up the wick and drawn away now. Last time by, he was about 2 seconds out in front of this battle. And it looks like he may have extended that even more as they approach and head down the 130-foot drop-off, which is the roller coaster. Just as we say so often, as TV does not do that turn justice, it's a lot steeper than it looks on camera, there's no question. As Nick Pershing at the tail end of that 3-car train in the 29 car. Just a little bit behind the 3 cars you see on camera. Mackenzie Clark in the 25 in that second spot. There's Nick Pershing just behind his teammate Jason Alder. Nick running in the 5th spot. Nick finished on the podium in the race earlier today, but unfortunately was issued a penalty afterwards by the stewards for causing a collision, and 30 seconds was added to his time, which dropped him back to 7th in the unofficial order. They still have not finalized the order for race number 1. So Nick obviously will be hoping to get as good a finish as he can to recover some of those points he lost. He's currently 5th in the points and only 17 behind Ryan Yardley, who's currently behind him on the track, currently running in 6th spot. When I talked to Ryan earlier, he said he felt his car was down on top speed a little bit, and that was putting him at a disadvantage. That's why he's back in 6th right now. And here's a track where you definitely want to have all the speed you can get.
I was about to say, being a little down on top line speed would not be ideal at this track. You need all the H horsepowers and straight line speed you can get.
Absolutely. Do you find you trim the car out to get that straight line speed, or do you leave a little downforce in so you've got some handling on the climbing S's?
You know, to be honest, I don't know in these cars, but in our F4 cars, we're definitely trimmed out to get as much straight line speed. And the draft's a lot more effective in the F4 than the FR car, so that definitely plays a big factor when you pop out and get all the clean air back on your car to not stall out and fall back even more.
Yeah, we're told that even in the FR cars, it's flat through the climbing S's, so they've obviously got enough downforce that they can keep their foot planted all the way through that section.
Definitely.
Matt Clark going for it here, and he is in a battle with Dylan Tavella, and it looks like Tavella has taken that position as they're working their way down. Yep, Tavella now up into 2nd spot as he was able to outbrake Matt Clark there into turn number 1. So a great move by the man who is 2nd in the points, putting Matt Clark back into 3rd, and then right behind them in 4th is Jason Alder, the winner of this morning's race. You can just see our leader, Raul Hyman, disappearing as we'll get a replay of that overtaking maneuver into turn 1. Beautifully played here. As we can see those two side by side from this great drone shot, and Dylan Tavella played it perfectly. Mac tried to fight back to do the over-under, but just wasn't quite able to pull it off. So back into turn 3 they come with Dylan Tavella now up into that 2nd spot. With about 16 minutes remaining, so we're not quite to half distance. Raul Hyman is your leader. The new 2nd place runner, Dylan Tavella, Matt Clark, back to 3rd. Jason Alder just behind him in 4th. Nick Persing rounding out the top 5. As coming into the roller coaster, those 3, that's Tavella, Clark, and Alder, stay locked together. Alder with the green highlights on his car. In your camera shot right now as they come down into the Big Machine Vodka Spike Coolers turn number 17. It's called the Hog Pen because back in the day there used to be a hog pen on the outside of that turn, hence the name. This racetrack has a very interesting history. I've talked about it. In fact, here comes Matt Clark coming under pressure from Jason Alder, and it's almost a replay of what Dylan Tavella was able to play. As now they're side by side, Clark will have the inside line as they head toward NASCAR. Jason Alder hanging tough. Clark is going to keep that lead, but Jason has an opportunity here to pop to the inside and see if he can stuff it down in there at left hook. And they can't quite complete the pass, but he is right there. It makes me wonder if Mac's tires are going away because he's almost lost 2 positions as many laps at that same place on the racetrack.
Yeah, definitely, and that would be a factor in the hog pin for sure, some tire wear, so it looks like he's not getting the greatest run on a hog pin, as we just saw. The last 2 laps he's gotten almost passed and passed, so it might be a factor there, definitely.
We'll see how that sorts out. Coming up to turn 11, Jason Alder showing the nose there to let Mac know that he's thinking about another move. Mac's car gets a little tail happy as he gets on the power exiting the Oak Tree Bend, and that should give an advantage to Jason Alder. We'll keep an eye on that. You can see Raul Hyman disappearing in the sunset, Dylan Tavella pulling out in front of that battle, and then the 2 we've been watching just coming up toward the roller coaster right now. There goes Tavella down the incline. Right on his gearbox is Jason Alder. So Matt Clark fighting for his life here. Let's see if he gets a better run through Hogpen this time by. You can see using the curbs, every bit of it. Jason Alder bouncing over the curbs on the next to the last turn. And onto the front straight they come. As they pass by our commentary position, we'll watch them as they come down into turn number 1. This time Mac is being a little defensive on his line coming into turn 1. Not giving up that inside line, but then he goes a little bit wide, opens the door ever so slightly, but Jason not quite able to take advantage. So Mac's doing a great job of making that car as wide as he needs to. But of course, you know, the rules don't permit you to move in response to the car behind you. So Mac can put his car anywhere he wants, but he's not able to then make a move if Jason decides to go one side or the other. He can do it, he'll just get penalized for it.
Definitely. He got a good run on a hog pin though there that time. So I think the draft is pretty big in these cars, but obviously not ginormous like the F4 cars. So you could see where he was catching there at the end, but if he just squares off the corner and make sure he gets a good run, that'll help him defend into turn one.
Yeah. Jason is again right there with him as they exit the Oak Tree Bend. Make their way onto the long back straightaway. The back straightaway 4,000 feet, the front straightaway 3,000 feet. Hence the high-speed nature of this racetrack and the necessity to get as much exit speed off the corner leading onto that straightaway. They always say one of the old adages of racing, the most important corner on any racetrack is the one leading on to the longest straightaway. Jason not able to make a move into the roller coaster, but he is right there as they exit Hogpen. We'll see if he gets another chance as they accelerate by our position. It's about a car length. Jason going to the outside, or showing the outside. Perhaps it's a feint, we'll see. There he goes, down to the inside, late on the brakes. Man, if he's able to make that happen, he is really a demon on the brakes. And yes, he was able to make that pass cleanly. I was afraid he had outbraked himself there, was going to go off the end of the straightaway.
Yeah, same. That was really, really impressive under the brakes there. That was quite deep from what we've been seeing up here in the commentary booth.
Yeah, great job for Jason Alder. So that moves him up into second spot. After the win earlier, that puts him in a position for a first and a second so far this weekend. Puts him up to third, I should say. I stand corrected. Dylan Tavella, of course, still in second. Now here comes Nick Pershing all over the back of Mac Clark. So I think Mac is having a little trouble keeping the tires under him. We've still got 11 minutes to go, and he appears to be a bit of a sitting duck as he's lost 2 spots now in the last handful of laps. And now Nick Pershing, the Californian, looking for an opportunity. Follow that battle. Again, this is for 4th position now. Jason Alder moving up to a podium spot. You can see those two right at the tail end of this beautiful camera shot. It's late in the day here, as you might see. The shadows getting long. And there goes Nick as he dives down to the inside at the braking zone for the roller coaster. Can't quite complete the pass, but he stays right there. As Mac doing everything he can to try to maximize his exit speed here. But let's see if he's going to lose another spot as the Future Star Racing driver Mac Clark coming under some pressure. We'll watch this progress as they go by start finish. Mac right in the middle of the racetrack, in fact guarding that inside line. He's going to make Nick go around the outside, but then he washes a little bit wide, opening the door for Nick to stick a nose in there. Can't quite close the deal. There's Dylan Tavella into turn 3, then Jason Alder, and then these two. Mac Clark still with the advantage as he gets a good acceleration off turn 1, and he'll be able to hang on to it now all the way through the top of the hill, I'm guessing. The lower part of the S's, called the Snake, is we're calling the Optima S's this weekend, as you can see the Optima battery signage. Now they enter the climbing S's. Right, left, right sequence, ending in a blind turn number 10, called that turn right there, called South Bend. And then they hit the brakes for the double apex right-hander, which is turn 11, Franklin Road turn 11, and Oak Tree Bend onto the back straightaway. Nick didn't get quite the run off of Oak Tree as he would hope, I would think, so I'm not sure he'll have the momentum to get himself up to Mac on this lap at least. But the front of the field has broken away just a bit. Raul Hyman with a 5.5 second lead. Dylan Tavella about 1.5 seconds in front of Jason Alder. Then Mac Clark with Nick Pershing last time by only about a quarter of a second behind him. So let's see how they are this time by. We've still got 8.5 minutes of racing remaining, as those two drivers heading down toward turn number 1. Mack able to hold him off right at the moment. Nick Pershing right there behind him. There's the 91 of Cooper Becklin behind this battle. He's about 6.5 seconds behind Nick Pershing and Matt Clark. So it's kind of in a lonely 6th spot right now. About 2.5 seconds behind him is Ryan Yardley in the 78, who, you know, was complaining that he felt his car was down a little bit on straight line speed. I'll be curious to see if Jason Alder has anything for Dylan Tavella, as the battle between Matt Clark and Nick Pershing has fallen off just a little bit, not quite as close as it once was. Jason Alder just set his personal best, a 1:45.8. Dylan Tavella in front of him, a 1:46.3, so about a half a second quicker, and he's only a second behind. He's kind of getting into that danger zone there, where he's close enough that he's going to start losing downforce to that car in front of him. So we'll see if Jason Alder can continue his challenge and perhaps move up to 2nd spot.
Yeah, we're also, when you get that closer, you're losing downforce, but he's had to come through the field a little bit and worn out his tires, maybe just a tick. So we'll see what he can do here in dirty air this late in the race with some tires that are definitely not have the grip that they had at the start of this race.
Sure, absolutely. Jason in that number 77 with the green accents. One of the 3 TJ Speed drivers who's near the top of the championship. Jason 3rd in the points. Nick Pershing, his teammate, 5th in the points. And of course, Raul Hyman, 6.5 seconds out in front of this battle, is the points leader, getting back on track after a very uncharacteristic race earlier today where he did not score any points. Dylan Tavella now has Jason Alder as a partner. Maybe a little too close for comfort for Dylan, as the battle behind between Matt Clark and Nick Pershing has fallen off a bit. I think this battle for 2nd is the one we're going to watch in the final 6 minutes of this race. Dylan doing a great job keeping that position at the moment, but Jason looks hungry and looks a little bit faster. On the last lap, Jason was at a 45, almost a 46 flat. Dylan a 46.5, so 2 successive laps. Jason has been about a half a second a lap faster. His front end washing out just a little bit. You can see losing grip on the front because he's so close behind Dylan. But Jason's right tucked in the draft. He might have an opportunity to pop out here as they climb the hill toward the braking zone for the roller coaster. Turn 14 here on the track. Right there is where the world drops away. It's kind of reminiscent of the corkscrew at Laguna Seca. It just goes the opposite direction. Yeah. Jason again, I think losing a little bit of downforce, following so closely behind Tavella, but he's quick hands. He's catching it.
Yeah, that was a big slide. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, it's all good. Yeah, it's all good.
Alder got very sideways, very quick there, so good for him to save it, but he's definitely going to lose ground to Tavella, who's doing all right here, holding up, but we'll see if he can catch back up and see if we got a battle here.
The battle behind them between Nick Pershing and Matt Clark is rejoined now, just as it looked like Mac was going to have a little breathing room. No longer. Nick Pershing right on his back door, and looks like we have a change.
Yeah, it looked like Tavella went a bit wide in turn 3, and Alder was able to capitalize. So we'll see if Tavella can get his head in it and push and see if he can get back Alder. But Alder was pushing hard and coming fast on him.
Yeah, Jason looked to be faster on the last couple laps. We'll see if Dylan can answer here and stay right behind him and perhaps repay the favor as they go through South Bend and head toward the southern end of the course. And here's Matt Clark once again with his hands full of Nick Pershing. And we'll get to see a replay of that pass. You can see down at the bottom part of the screen. Yeah, Jason just got a better run through NASCAR and was able to stuff it down there at turn 4. So Dylan didn't quite get the run he had hoped for off that third turn, and that opened the door for Jason Alder to take that position. So he's up to second now after finishing atop the box in the first race of the day. We go back to live action here and followed that battle for second and third, with Alder now in that second position. 3.5 minutes, a little less, remaining in this one before we'll see the checkered flag. And at this point, it looks like
Person got by Matt Clark there.
He did indeed. That's another pass that happened on the second half of that lap. So Nick Pershing got that pass done. So that moves him up into fourth spot. Matt Clark, after running as high as second in the early going, has dropped back into fifth position right now. Mac, of course, not in the hunt for the season-ending championship, but the top 9 drivers all score super license points. And if you've been following the drama of drivers from the IndyCar series trying to amass enough supercar points to take a run at Formula One, they are very valuable commodities indeed. And one of the advantages of our 2-race series being FIA sanctioned is that the top 7 drivers in F4 and the top 9 drivers in FR all earn super license points at the end of the season. They can be very valuable indeed. So Matt Clark back to fifth now. And looks to be fallen enough behind Nick Pershing that it is not going to be a factor, at least at this stage. As we look up ahead to Dylan Tavella and Jason Alder, Jason appears to have the situation pretty well in hand now. As we go back to our leader with about 1 minute and 45 seconds remaining, we may well see the white flag this time by. It's Raul Hyman. We haven't talked about him much. He's been out in front by 7 seconds or more. And he comes across the line. And we are on the final lap. We can have that confirmation. So Raul Hyman on his way perhaps to win number 8 on the season and extending his points lead. Dylan Tavella was running second until just a couple laps ago. So finishing in third, that's going to be a 10-point swing for him.
Yeah, he was still hanging on to the back of Alder there. Not quite as close as he would have hoped to be, but we'll see if he can get a run through the infield of this before the climbing S's and see what we got if Tavella has anything for Jason Alder.
That's so we can see them right in the back of the shot as we stay with our leader, working his way up the climbing S's. Raul Hyman, a driver with a pretty healthy pedigree, but he thought he was done with racing after doing a lot of winning in Europe. He won the 2018 F3 Asia Championship, but then he kind of ran out of a ride and thought that his racing days were done. But then this opportunity to come stateside and race with TJ Speed in our series presented itself, and he has grabbed it with both hands. So kudos to the young South African, currently living in London, doing a great job here. And he's reclaiming his hold on the championship trophy. It's not his just yet, but it's getting a little closer with each succeeding race. He's closing up on the back of Kevin Jansen to put him a lap down on the final lap here. As Raul Hyman approaches the checkered flag, win number 8 on the season for Raul Hyman from TJ Speed Motorsports, and he makes it happen. Second place goes to Jason Alder as he comes across the line. Dylan Tavella has to settle for third, but he'll be happy with that. It's a podium. Nick Pershing, after a battle with Matt Clark, comes home in fourth spot. Matt Clark has to settle for fifth. Cooper Becklin across the line in sixth. Ryan Yardley just now crossing in seventh spot. Hayden Bowlesby, after running a little further up, has to settle for eighth. Oliver Westling, again in his first weekend of competition in the FR car, comes home in ninth. Rodrigo Gutierrez didn't have the race he would like as he fell back to 10th at the end. And Kevin Jansen finishing on the lead lap, but just barely, rounding out the 11-car field. Noah, thanks so much for being with us. Appreciate your commentary. You did a great job.
Thank you for having me. Sorry, unfortunately this race wasn't as exciting as race one, but we got some good overtakes, some clean overtakes, and green flag racing, which I think was the first one in the F4 and FR series this weekend. So that's good to see.
You bet. That's exactly what we're looking for. I'm going to be heading down to the victory circle to talk to our top 3 finishers. Jonathan Green will be up here to relieve me as we've got a little more racing left to go, but this is the last of our races for today. We'll have 2 more, one for each class, FR and F4, tomorrow, and that'll round out the weekend for the Formula Regional Americas and the F4 US Championship. So Dylan Tavella finishing in 3rd. 2nd place goes to Jason Alder, and Raul Hyman back atop the box as he has been 7 times previously in this season of Formula Regional Americas competition. Coming around on the cool down lap. Good shot at our winner. Jonathan has not yet joined me, so I'm going to sign off at this point to make my way down to the podium. For those of you joining us on the stream, on behalf of Noah Ping, I've been John Fippin. Thanks so much for being with us. As Jonathan working his way up the steps, I'll head down to the podium to talk to our winners. We'll see you tomorrow for the final 2 races of the weekend.
As Jonathan comes up to the booth and John Fippin runs down to victory circles, we see the cars making that hairpin turn there to go to winner's circle. What a fantastic race. Raul Hyman, 8th victory this year in FR. Unbelievable talent. And it was great with Jason Alder and Dylan Tavella. And there he is, Raul Hyman. You see some beautiful shots here. Another celebration with Raul Hyman coming in to victory circle as we're waiting for Jonathan Green to make his way up here. We're on the 3rd floor of a building through some twisty stairs, but Raul definitely looks happy. I hear him coming. As Raul gets out of the car, I see John Fippin there in the background walking up to take the mic, as we've got Jonathan Green's joining us, and Raul, look at that. All right, well, I think we have John Fippin. Let's throw it down to John Fippin, who's got Raul Hyman at winner's circle.
Raul, we have to talk to you. Get your helmet off and we'll have a quick word here. No problem. The planets have aligned once again, my friend. You're back atop the podium. I know the race this morning was not your best hour, but you're right back on the top of the box. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, this morning was really disappointing. We started on pole. I mean, the pace was really good, and obviously the 3 of us right at the front from TJ Speed, and unfortunately there was a bit of contact that kind of put me off, and yeah, I think from there it just wasn't great. So no, I mean, I'm really happy to be here. Really grateful to God that we were able to bounce back. And really grateful to the team as well that, you know, they gave us the car. You see, obviously, Jason here in P2. The cars have been quick all weekend and really just great to drive.
Congratulations.
Thanks very much.
There's your championship leader, Johnny.
Yeah, great stuff by Raul Hyman. He bounced back nicely, and that's the real show of a champion, is when you get frustrated. I saw in between races, and he explained that it was one of those situations where, yeah, it was his teammate. He didn't want him to do that at all. But confirmation of the result then, Raul Hyman with the victory, and another victory as he marches on towards that very, very important Formula Regional Americas Championship, and that will vaunt his career dramatically. Jason Alder, though, from Drive for Diabetes Awareness is second, and Dylan Develler is third. Nick Persing in fourth position for OPI Commercial Builders, and Mackenzie Clark, the Canadian, in fifth. Cooper Becklin in sixth place, Ryan Yardley, the Kiwi, seventh. Hayden Bowlesby in eighth position, Oliver Westling making his debut in ninth, and Rodriguez Gutierrez for Velocity Racing Development. Rounding out the top 10. Let's take a look at some of the highlights then of that FR race, and it started off in perfect conditions and ended that way too. When the lights went out, there was no second questions from Raul Hyman. He made sure he held on to that lead through the first complex, and once in the lead he never looked back. He got some pressure, but really he has driven superbly throughout this entire season. Remember, coming to tracks he's never driven at before, the young South African Englishman, and he takes to it like a duck to water. Absolutely superb racing throughout. There was some competition behind him, but it was all Raul Hyman at the front. And a few bits of oversteer and understeer, and through came Raul Hyman to take victory then, once again, here, and bounce back brilliantly after what was a disappointing start to the day. We'll take a short break from VIR as the sun goes down. Join us in a moment.
Everything in our garage is inspired by our racing spirit. Race in for a great deal on the Honda CR-V. Only at the Honda Dream Garage Spring Event.
My name is Jason Alder, and I'm the driver of the number 77 Ligier JS F3 car. Being a race car driver is cool and all, but it's really nothing when you're not utilizing it for a good cause, like spreading the word for type 1 and type 2 diabetes. It does a lot for me personally, and it does a lot for the FDA.
Some of the symptoms of type 1 diabetes are sudden weight loss, vision changes, frequent urination. So remember to check, don't guess, it may not be the flu, and that education is knowledge, and knowledge is the power to help save lives. Go to dfda.info to check out Rocco's story. Thank you and have a great day.